like to welcome you all to this bootcamp. It's the focus of what we're going to be doing is products and growth marketing, with an emphasis on the usefulness of AI for being able to leverage modern technologies to get work done better and faster. I'm going to see if I can manage our audio for a bit. All right. So I think I just muted microphones so that I can present proper. If you have questions, you can drop in the chat. I'm going to turn on your mics somewhere down the session. I believe that everyone has access to this document, which is on my screen. Well, I don't know if it's not visible enough, you can let me know, because I use small fonts, right? So basically, you should have already gotten access to this to see this before today's session. There are detailed instructions from everything we're going to be covering from start to finish in this program. And this is going to be our Google Meet link for this course. We're going to be having this every Friday for the next 12, 13 weeks till we complete all the modules here. The expectation is that you should already have started to look through each week's module, right? So each week, for instance, this first week we are in now has a video you can watch and three like documents or resources for you to go through, which is what we're going to be talking about, right? And the end of each module, there are going to be like assessments that you need to answer, and you're going to be submitting them at the end of the bootcamp as well. And I did put some information on how we're going to be submitting that, submitting our assessments, right? So there's this link to this documentation within the material, and this would be like just to take record of what we're doing, right? So you can track, like, we're actually in week 1, module 1, right? So you can start, like, we're just help you to keep track of what you're doing. You're learning the modules, you've completed the modules, you're taking the assessments, you've completed the assessments, or you've completed the course completely. This is just for tracking. And then for the assessments as well, you're going to be putting the links to your document submissions or whatever requirement it is in this same Google Doc, right? So this is just a way for you to track that you've completed the assessments, right? So you can make a copy of these documents. That's basically easy to do. You make a copy of this and you select the folder you want to save it in. You will definitely need to change this because the default folder is going to be my own. And if you try to like make a copy, it will ask you to save it in my folder, and I'm going to reject the request, and it's just going to be a bit of mess. So just make sure you make a copy of this. Don't try to edit this. If I was viewing this with a different email, it might be asking me to request edit access. So don't do that. It's not appropriate. I'm not going to accept the request, basically. So we should go to today's focus of what we're going to be doing. And the expectation for today's course is basically to be able to define the fundamental marketing concepts, right? It's very important that we start from the fundamentals, because every other thing we're going to be doing is going to be based on the fundamentals, and those fundamentals are very important to be grounded in basic marketing principles. And then we can apply that in any strategy, tactic, channel, tool, or whatever the case might be, right? So for today, I would expect that you've already gone through like the module videos, or if you've not, you can do that after the class. What we're going to be focusing on is like talking about marketing laws, principles, and mental models. And I'm going to be sharing a slide to that effect. All right. So when we talk about marketing laws, principles, and mental models, they're basically like different ways to conceptualize the fundamentals of marketing, right? And these are like patterns that we observe over time of how marketing really works, right? And different thinkers and thought leaders and authors have tried to create like books of knowledge around marketing laws. Some of them will call them laws, some of them will call them principles. Some of them also call them mental models. The concept is similar and quite the same, right? And the way this works is that there's like some core ideas that have been observed from different patterns, right? And multiple of these laws exist. They appear in our everyday interaction with marketing material, and even when we are responsible for marketing strategy on our in our own, you will see that a lot of this, like when you try to understand consumer behavior, customer behavior, there is a lot of things that are playing together there, like the human psychology, behavioral economics, behavioral psychology, perception, emotion, and a bunch of different things that influence how people react or respond to marketing in general, right? And so a lot of this content are also pulled from like sales strategy, branding, advertising, and the rest. And there are a lot of books too that have been written around marketing laws and principles, like the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, Cialdini's 7 Principles of Influence, mental models by Farnham, behavioral biases, brand laws, and the rest, right? And if you want to break down all the laws, you're going to be looking at like 300 different marketing laws and principles, but there are lots of them are like repetition and just restating the same thing. So what I did was that I put them together and tried to simplify it into around 30 principles of marketing that we can now classify again into 5 major areas, right? So there are some fundamental truths, in marketing, and a lot of the laws are based on those truths and those fundamentals, right? One of them is the fact that attention is scarce, right? And people have limited focus, and they always filter information constantly. If you think about it, we are bombarded with dozens and loads of information every single day, every second. So the way we do this, we process all of that as human beings, is that we take mental shortcuts, right? If you already recognize something, it's not going to fascinate you anymore. And that's why sometimes if you think about like social media, the kind of things that catch your attention are the things that look a bit, it's like outlandish, it's different, it's unique. But stuff that you're already used to, you're desensitized to them, and you probably will not pay attention to them anymore. Sometimes you will see that, oh, you just start watching a particular content or a particular creator, and over time you don't watch their content anymore because it's like, I already know what to expect. I don't have patience to go through what they're communicating, right? And then you find a new material or a new channel or a new creator to follow, and then you're engaging their content again, right? So it's the way the mind works, it's the way human beings work, and it's very important for us as marketers to understand how people work, for us to be able to convince them and play on all of these different loopholes to make them to do what we want, basically, because that's what marketing is about. So yeah, talking about attention being scarce, people have limited focus, and they say the attention span is like less than 10 seconds or whatever it is. It's just a restating of the same concepts. Another thing is the fact that perception beats reality, right? What people believe is more important than what is true. And that is a fundamental of human beings as well, right? People believe things based on perspective, based on personal experience, based on what someone told them, based on the relationships that they have with the person that told them something, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be true. It just needs to be what an authority figure has told them or something they've experienced, and that is their perception of things that they've taken as the truth, right? So if you can play to people's perceptions as well, then you'll be able to get them to do what you want again. Like I say, right? Perception beats reality. What is perceived is more important than what is fact or what is true. Another thing is that loss is stronger than gain, right? So you must have probably heard sometimes someone will say it's better to sell Panadol than to sell vitamins. So if your product is not solving a customer pain point, it's not important. If it's just something that is just like an add-on, it's like nice to have, then you're probably not going to make any money. But if it's something that is really a pain, you found out that this is a serious pain that people are suffering from, and you create a value around that, you create a product or a service around that, then you'll be able to convince people to buy because they are losing something by, that pain is costing them something. So if you can solve for that pain, for that problem, for that pain point, then you're going to make back, right? So that's the principle of loss. Loss is stronger than gain. And then the final one here is like trust is compounding, right? So and building credibility is a very slow process, right? But the effects multiply. So over time, if you're able to convince your customers, you show up and they trust you. And that's the concept of branding, right? you continuously show your customers that they can trust you and that you're going to deliver on the promise that you said you're going to deliver on, right? And that builds trust over time. That's compounding trust. And the opposite of that is that trust is very fickle, right? Like you only need to have a very bad day and a brand can lose trust. You've seen PR incidents like disasters in for this or a bunch of brands. You know, they mess something up one time and then they lose love and then they are cancelled, right? And all the trust they built over time is already put to the test, right? So that those are some fundamental principles. Now there are 5 layers of the marketing mental models where every other thing are bundled into, right? And this goes from like inwards to outwards, right? So you think about what the person is thinking first, what's going on in the customer's mind before you now extend the framing to external. Like, okay, now we want to, what are the channels we're going to use to reach them? First, you need to think about what they are going through. So you need to have a very deep understanding of the customer, right? So first is the human reality. What is their current psychological state? What are their emotions? What are the biases that might influence their decision? You know, sometimes when you do marketing strategy, you'll be thinking about demographics, psychographics, gender, age, all those data points you're trying to put together that, okay, this product might appeal more to the male customers just because there are some biases and there are some psychologies that are unique to them, right? And this product might appeal more to the other gender or something like that. Or this set of people, because of their religious belief, they will never buy this product. You know, there are some products that will not sell in the northern parts of Nigeria just because of their culture and their religion. So you think about what is the mind framing of this customer, you know, and that is going to influence the kind of products and the way you're going to communicate the value of your service or your product to them and the messaging that follows that. You know, you first need to understand who they are, what are the belief systems, the concepts, the things that drive them, their ethics, their morals, their all of that. You know, what kind of family do they come from? You think about all of that first, right? Then the next step of figuring that out is now perception, right? How are they going to interpret the thing that you're offering them because of those pre-existing beliefs and biases they have, right, in their own reality? So the perception, how do they perceive the thing you're offering? Like I said before, the perception is more important than reality for customers. What they perceive is more important than, oh, that's not what I meant, but that's what they think, right? So, and what they think is more important than what you meant. Oh, this is not what I meant, or, you know, that break in communication, understanding, the customer is not understanding your marketing, right? But that's because you were not able to get the right perception. The next thing now is now value translation. Now, let's assume you've gone through the first barrier, which is the reality of the customer, to the perception and meaning that they frame your approach with. Then the third thing is now, how do they translate the value you offer, right? And that's where your messaging is important. How you communicate the value you offer to customers, or the offering that you're bringing to them, is also very important, you know. And this is where you start thinking of things like, do you sell features or do you sell outcomes? Do you show or do you tell? You know, what do you want to be clear or do you want to be clever, right? And things like that, you know. And some of the tools we use to implement this is like when you think about things like jobs to be done, value proposition, copywriting, you know, benefit, objective handling, and things like that. Those are some of the tools that have imbibed this this fundamental of marketing into it, right? And the next layer you now move to is the layer of friction and momentum, right? So well, you've found a way to convince the customer that what you're offering is what they need. But now it's not a time of, okay, how do we actually get access to the thing you are selling now? That's where friction comes into play. So you think about the customer journey. Maybe you're selling a physical product. Where can they get the products? You know, if they see your ad on TV or on social media, how do they order for it? Is there a website that they can go and make their purchase? How many layers of forms? Maybe you have a very long form that you want them to fill a form before they're able to get access to what you're selling. Are you asking too many unnecessary questions? Is your customer service slow and things like that? You know, that's the part of friction. And every extra step you add to this stage of the buyer's journey increases the the dissatisfaction. It introduces more friction basically, and it kills the momentum of customers that are already moving along that mind frame. Then the final one is distribution and scale, right? How do you now reach your audience effectively? Let's imagine that you've crossed all the four other areas. It's now like distribution, marketing, channels. Where can they get your product? How do they, get the thing that you're selling? Basically, that's distribution. So that's now when you now start to do channels, tactics. Oh, we're going to use social media. We're going to use email. We're going to run a campaign with influencers. We're going to do partnerships and things like that. So before you get to all of that, you start from somewhere. Now let's look at them like in more detail, right? So coming to the first layer, which is the human reality. That's where psychology. Look at how the person is thinking. Everything starts from the human reality and psychology, right? And this, if you cannot pass this barrier, everything else you're going to do is going to fail, right? And there are some concepts here like attention is scarce. Humans rely on shortcuts, right? Because we're bombarded with so much information. So our brain recognizes patterns of what information they've seen before or they recognize, and it just makes a conclusion. That's why sometimes we have biases for you see someone that um, is looking like a mad person basically on the road, and your brain has already concluded that everybody that dresses like this is a mad person. You see someone that has a certain look, and your brain concludes that they are from a certain tribe in a country, or this is that the behaviors that is peculiar to this kind of people, just because maybe you've had one experience with someone like that before, and you just jump. I mean, if you're familiar with the Nigerian landscape, for instance, someone like me with my dyed hair, if I'm driving and police sees me, they will stop me and they will assume that I'm a Yahoo boy or something like that, and they want to collect money or harass me, right? So that's just a mental shortcut that influences biases, and it's a marketing thing too, right? People act based on emotion. That's another one, right? And they justify their emotions with logic. So most decisions we make are not actually like logical in a sense. Sometimes they might fall into logic, but we are mostly emotional beings, right? We act based on emotion, and then we try to rationalize the thing that we did with logic, right? And that's even if you're even someone that has a very strong mental capacity to even try to analyze the things that you do and find the logic inside. Most people don't even mind, right? And I mentioned this before that loss, the framing of loss is stronger than gain. If you're selling Panadol, it's more important than selling vitamins, right? So people will rather do things when it's like, oh, it's life threatening or it's really painful to them. At that point, you can call any price and they're going to pay, than when it's just like, oh, just get this. But it's like it's just okay. I don't necessarily need it until it becomes a pain to me, basically. Right. So when you're thinking about this, the key question you should be asking is, what is the belief, emotion, or risk, right, that is controlling the buyer's decision right now, and how are we reducing or triggering it? That's how you should be thinking about this layer. The next layer is perception, right? Perception and meaning. And this is how you do positioning, right? So marketing happens in your buyer's mind, and how they perceive your products, right, relative to others is very important, right? Like I said, perception beats reality. Your mind will compare before it decides. And category matters more than features. When we go into like things that have to do with like positioning and messaging, you will see how all of these are come into play in our in different templates, right? And the key question you should be asking here for in this layer is that what does the buyer think you are selling, or what is the message you're trying to communicate to them, and how do they compare it to the things that they already know in their mind, right? Like I mentioned before, the ethnicity of someone, the religious belief, the things they hold there will be some of the things that will anchor their decision making on. So that is some of the hurdles you need to cross before you can actually sell something to anybody. So you cannot just define your target customer and say, okay, they are male and female, they are from this tribe and that tribe. You need to look deeper into what are the things that they are predisposed to because of this, their gender, because of their location, because of their tribe, because of their religion, because of their community. What are those things that they are predisposed to there that I need to now overcome? How can I position my product or my service in a way that is not there's not going to be resistance from what they already fundamentally believe in, right? That's it. Then the next layer now is translating, your value, which is messaging. Like we already covered positioning now. It's looking at messaging. So there are just some best practices when you're doing messaging. Basically, you sometimes you might say, "Oh, don't communicate features, communicate the outcomes." Most times that is correct. There are also sometimes that you now need to think deeper. That are these features really more important than even just saying outcomes, right? And this comes in play when you're marketing to developers, for instance. If you're marketing to a very technical person, they want to know the features, not just the outcomes. But most times, for most products, outcomes are very important to get the customer to where the same mind frame that you want them to be for them to be interested in what you're selling, right? So focus on what the products can do for them. What is the transformation is going to do for them? How is it going to help them to move to the next stage, as opposed to just say, okay, we have this Apple iPhone that has a 200,000 megapixel camera and whatever. But it's more of this. If you can communicate to the Apple product, is more of a status symbol that has a connected ecosystem. And if you're not using Apple, I don't know what you're using and stuff like that. So it mostly plays to human psychology, right? Another thing in marketing is that clarity beats persuasion, right? It's better to use as simple as possible language and to try to be clever, or try to use like there's some very funny landing pages you might have seen or communications you see that you cannot actually figure out what this product does or what this company is about. They are very aspirational. They are trying to revolutionize the industry of, I don't know, right? So it's better to be clear than to be clever when you're doing marketing. And this in the area of messaging. I want to be able to decide quickly if what you're offering has any importance or value to me, right? And that's also similar to being relevant, right? Relevant is more important than reaching many people. If you can target a subset of people, maybe it's just 20 people, and those 20 people are your exact target audience, than trying to do a massive TV promotion to reach everybody where not everybody is interested in what you're selling, right? So the key question you ask in this layer as well is that, can a stranger understand why this matter to them in under 5 seconds? So if you look at, if you have a bunch of, like, if you're working on a product right now, look at your landing page now or your homepage and ask yourself if a stranger will understand what you are selling or what you're offering under 5 seconds, just landing on your homepage in the hero section. And that will help you to do marketing better, basically. And the fourth layer now is friction and momentum, right? This is where you're trying to convert, right? So the growth or sales or the outcomes you're looking for is usually blocked by friction, right? Every extra step you add to your process when your customer is trying to purchase is going to, kill their momentum, basically, right? And the question you should be asking here is that where is energy leaking in the customer journey, right? What is that extra thing they have to do? Oh, DM for price, for instance. You're selling something that you want customers that see your product on social media to come into your DMs to come and ask you how much you sell. Like, just put the price, they let them make the decision in advance. I understand sometimes that might be a case of you want to be able to change your price and not have to go back to be updating the price. So you say they should come to you. So when they come to you, you give them the price as of today. But you need to find more efficient ways to update your price dynamically so that your customers can even see that, okay, this is the price today. Because people want to make decisions quickly. They don't want to come and be tied down and tell you, okay, well, and ghost you, because what if the customer is not ready to buy? They're just evaluating, and then you enter your DM and you're saying that, oh, this is the price, and they ghost you, right? And then you're angry that, oh, this person just wasted my time. But you could have made it easy for both sides if you just put the price. So this is where we're talking about friction in the customer journey as well. And the fifth thing now is marketing, basically what you call distribution and promotion and all of that, right? And one thing to understand here is that distribution is very key. The closer you are to the closer your customers can access the thing that you are selling, especially when it's something that they can buy physically, right? It is more important than even just trying to get the message out there. There are some things we buy without thinking too much. If you go to the mall, for instance, you see household items. There are some that there's no real preference for things like soap, utensils, toiletries and things like that, except you really have a preference. But most times you buy what is available. And that's when we're talking about distribution. So distribution is more important most times than every other thing you want to do, especially when you've gotten to the stage where you're trying to sell the thing, right? Another principle now is that channels will always saturate. What works now will probably not work later. So if there's a new channel that comes out, maybe a TikTok now, everybody's going viral. If you don't capitalize on the channel when that thing is happening, like in the first couple months, by the time you come there, maybe in a year or two, it's already saturated, it's already boring. People have gotten used to the strategy. So most times there are tactics that work initially and then they don't work anymore. Once a lot of people get crowded in that channel using that same tactic, it becomes normal to everybody. And we human beings are looking for the things that are not normal, the things that are different. So if you're the same, you look exactly the same with everybody, and that's the way virality works on the internet, right? The things that go viral are the things that are interesting and different, not the same boring stuff that we can predict. So if your content is predictable, it might work. I mean, sometimes your content needs to be predictable and just be okay, not extra special. But if right, you're in a space where you need people to engage a lot and you're trying to go viral, you have to be thinking of doing something that is not the normal stuff, right? Something abnormal maybe, but it's something that catches people's attention and is just different, right? And then last thing here is like leverage is compounding. There are some actions that you take that will produce more results for you. And this is even simple as saying like there's an 80-20 principle. If you get a very small number of things right, that has more returns than some other aspects of what you're doing, basically. Right. So the quick question to ask if when you're trying to scale is how can you grow without adding more efforts? That's really what skill is, getting more with less. So basically, the summary of all of this is that marketing laws are variations of the same sequence. You start with like the human psychology to perception to meaning to friction and then to distribution. So you start first by diagnosing the problem before you jump to, okay, we want to do a campaign. We're going to use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. No, you don't start from the channels. You start from the mind frame of the customer, right? You look at the problem, right? And what is happening in that layer of marketing. Like we said, the psychology side of things, the perception, the meaning of your campaign, and your messaging. Then you look at the customer touch points, friction, before you now move to channels, right? So senior marketers will usually ask what layer is broken. Before you jump to using, I mean, there's a bunch of templates you have access to now in the documentation, but before you use those templates, you need to understand the framework that is driving those templates. Like what exactly is the reason why this is so? And that's how you execute marketing, basically. So yeah, that's the presentation. I'm going to unmute our mics, and if we have questions, I don't know if there are any questions that were dropped, but if we have questions, we can now ask our questions. So basically, we're starting with the modules we're going to be taking in the next couple of weeks. We're starting with the fundamentals first, right? We're trying to lay out on fundamentals before we move to more advanced stuff, right? And the fundamentals like this is like marketing laws and principles, understanding the difference between marketing and growth, and product marketing and performance marketing and brand marketing. As simple as they might be, most people don't understand the difference, right? And there's a documentation here that explains that, marketing in general is trying to get people to know what you're doing, like what you're doing, and trust you, basically to convince them to take certain actions. Moving from there to product marketing is you being responsible for the entire life cycle of a product, right from when it is the ideation stage to when it is launched, to when it is growing, to when it is maturing, to when it declines. A product marketer is responsible for the life cycle of a product, marketing it and making it relevant to customers. For a growth marketer, your job is experimentation, trying to find the strategies and tactics that work, the channels, the combinations that work for you to generate revenue for a business, which is growth. And growth is basically acquiring new customers or increasing revenue. So basically make profits, but you do that by acquiring new customers or increasing revenue or selling more to the existing customers you have. So you keep experimenting basically as a growth marketer over time. So these terminologies are very important to distinguish so you understand the job that you're doing in different places. What we're trying to cover here is product and growth marketing, right? A lot on the product side. We're still going to go to the growth side, which is more of experimentation, and funnels and all of that. But that's my time for today. I don't know if anybody has any questions. If we don't have questions right now, let's send in our questions, to the group, right? And I can give directions on that. If you're stuck at any point in the materials that you're consuming over the next couple of weeks as well, you can reach out to, let me know where you're struggling, and let's see how we can help you. So I'm just going to hold on a few minutes and see if we have any questions before we round up. Okay, I have a question from Oni about categories over features in the perception layer. Let me see if I can find examples of like landing pages that probably, let me go to Apple and see if I can show you what we're talking about. Okay, I decided to go to Money Points landing page, and maybe I'll compare with like Piggyvest as well. These are just fintech products that we might be familiar with. So when I say like, I didn't say categories over features. What I said was outcomes. Okay, assignments. Let me take this first. So for this landing page of Piggyvest, for instance, what they're saying here is Piggyvest is the better way to save and invest, right? So I already kind of understand that, okay, saving and investment, right? And then they move further to say that Piggyvest helps over 6 million customers achieve financial goals by helping them save and invest with ease. Now, there's a lot of things happening here, like they are helping over 6 million customers. So now I know that, okay, I'm not the only one that is going to be testing out the product. There's 6 million other people that know and trust Piggyvest. And what Piggyvest is doing for them is to help them to achieve their financial goals, right? So if I do want to achieve my financial goals, then I probably should use Piggyvest, right? Because they will help me to save and invest with ease. Coming to MoneyPoint, MoneyPoint is saying that they are simple, they provide a simple solution to power my business, right? So do I have a business? Yes. I probably should be considering what MoneyPoint is offering, right? And then what they will help me to do is to collect payments, access loans, manage my operations with the business banking solution, right? I think this is clear enough for me. So what they are doing here is they're actually showing me the outcomes of or the benefits of using their products, right? As opposed to just listing out, okay, we have one API that is powered by, I don't know, a microchip and things that are just too technical that they're not communicating to me, except I'm a developer that needs to work with their API and documentation, right? If I go to companies like Samsung and Apple, actually, I'm actually going to be confused because now what they are presenting to me now is the iPhone 17 Pro, and then they're showing me camera. So I mean, because of the visuals, I think, okay, I can take pictures with the camera. But if I go further, they're also saying this is the thinnest iPhone ever, and it's powered by Pro. They say it's magic chromatic. I have no idea what that means, right? So this is not effective marketing, but at least they are showing me different colors. So maybe I'm interested in like, oh, I can get different colors of the iPhone. So maybe I like my favorite color is black or is blue. I may be considering it, but there's already like a bunch of other marketing that they are doing that is not necessarily on the homepage. where they are showing you what you can do. Maybe you can put the phone inside water and take pictures underwater. And so they are showing you the things you get by using the products, right? But I don't think they're doing an excellent job on the homepage right now. And they're saying, what exactly is M5? Profile. What are these things, right? And sometimes it's hard to communicate usefulness when your product is really technical, right? So you have to do extra work, maybe show more visuals, use more case studies, show your product in use, basically. I don't know if that answers your question. Oluwale is saying there's an assignment. Okay.
Yeah, so I get this in the outcome, not just features under the value translation layer. What
Okay.
I was asking for is the explanation under the perception layer. So in the video you had said perception beats reality. I got that. Then you said categories matter more than features. So I don't know what difference, how that is different
Okay.
from outcomes and not just features.
All right. Let me show you a positioning document. I think that's the better way to explain what categories mean. So there's always going to be a way we frame a product in our minds, right? For instance, if you think about HubSpot, you probably think about CRM or marketing automation. If you think about Piggyvest, for instance, you think fintech. If you think about money points, you also still think fintech. So those are categories that help us to understand what those products do, right? So you need to always kind of frame those products within a category that, okay, and there are multiple ways you can also do categories. Like aside from just framing a category in the general like industry terminology, you can also think of a category as the thing that you're trying to solve with that product. So I want to show you a positioning document that kind of has how those categories are broken down for different products. Let me see. All right. So this is one template you guys definitely have access to. And there are multiple ways you can frame a category. One is you frame it within the market that it is. So like I said, fintech, SaaS, CRM, marketing automation, e-commerce, retail, aviation. Like I think if you think of like Arik, you think of it's an airline. If you think about Virgin Atlantic, you think that it's an airline. So you already know what problems it solves by the fact that it is within that particular category, right? You can frame it within that particular category. You can also frame it within the the use case. So what exactly am I using it for? When I want to take a business trip, I want to travel, I want to go with family and stuff like that. So those are some of the use cases. How exactly, what case do you use the product or the service, right? Then you can also frame according to competitors. So when it comes to competitors, we can have like a direct competitor, a secondary competitor, or an indirect competitor. So a direct competitor, for instance, is, so we're thinking about ride hailing. We're thinking about Uber, Bolt, Taxify, InDrive, and the rest, right? If I say that I'm building a company and I give you whatever and it maybe move around, and I tell you that it's just like Uber, you already understand what service we provide. That is ride hailing. You need to go somewhere, you call a ride, right? Um, and solutions like that can also be framed according to what is the secondary competitor. And the secondary competitor is something that does not solve that solves the problem, but with a different solution. So we have Netflix, for instance, and cinemas. You watch movies both on Netflix and in cinemas, but the medium is different. You can watch Netflix at home with your friends, but for a cinema, you actually have to go somewhere, pay to watch the movie at a certain time. And when the movie is complete, they kick you out, right? But you're still going there to watch movies. And then there's the indirect competitor, is like, we do these things for entertainment. We watch movies for entertainment, whether it's Netflix in the cinema, but we can also do something else for entertainment with our time. We can be playing games, we can be hanging out with friends, we can be listening to music, right? So framing within those are categories, like a competitor category, a market category, a use case being a category as well. So that's like framing whatever it is that you offer around a category is more important than telling people the features, because I can tell you that, oh, Netflix has high definition television. We stream from 2000 cash and whatever. Like we can be very technical, but it's easier for somebody to understand if, I tell you that this product is just like Netflix and you can watch movies, right? Or it's easier for me to communicate that this is what my product does, and I tell you that it's just like Uber, right? Or it's just like Bolt. You already know what Bolt is because they're popular products within that category. But as opposed to just trying to communicate all the features that my own product has that is different from theirs. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. Oluwale is asking about, there's an assignment at the end of the video that is not referenced in the resources section. I don't really understand what that means, but there's definitely like assignments for each of like our weekly courses, right? So first, the assignment for this week is select a product. You can work on something that is you're already working on internally. Like this is a product you're already working on, and use that to apply the concepts from this week's topic, right? So I did something with Microsoft Zoom, right? I can show you what that is, but it's somewhere on my newsletter. So just look at the principles that they employed or they did not employ, within their product that made it succeed or to fail, right? So looking at, for instance, I was showing you landing pages like Samsung, Apple, Money Points, Piggyvest. What are they getting right? What are they getting wrong? So this is how you do a diagnosis of marketing assets, marketing campaigns, to see where they are missing and how you can improve on yours. And you can even like audit and critique the one that you have, or the one that you're working on with all of these frameworks. Okay, something I should be we're supposed to get to it later, but there's something else I should show you guys that you have access to, which is, I think it's yeah, this AI prompt frameworks. This is like it's a week 4 thing, but it's basically the way I operate with documentation like this, right? So you can take like the mental models of different principles of marketing and throw them into a project in like your ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, and it can help you to assess any products that you want to assess, basically. So you can create a prompt that says, what exactly is missing here? And there's a prompt framework in this document that can help you. And there's like a video there anyway that also shows you how to utilize things like this, right? Let me go to my on ChatGPT, for instance. Let's see. But yeah, you can work with AI to do your assessments. That's just the general thing I'm trying to say. And there's a lesson we'll still get to that shows you how to work with like prompts and knowledge files for you to accomplish outputs, because that's like really one of the major points of this bootcamp, for you to be able to get work done faster. But you need to first understand the principles that are tying that are influencing the work that you're doing first. So yeah, that's it. Any other questions whilst we round up? All right, we have about like 5 minutes. Yes. So for the assignments, you can take them. You can decide to take them every week, or you take them at the end of the boot camp. But there's a guideline for how to submit them as well. And yes, they will definitely be reviewed. I mean, for me, if I take stuff like this, I like to do everything at once. So I would review every week 1, I'll complete it. I'll do review week 2, I'll review, I complete it till I have like my full package of assignments. But if you're better working week after week, you can start from this week, do the assignments that is related to what knowledge you've consumed already, so that it becomes immediately applicable. And then you're done with that. You save it according to the guidelines. And then when it's time to submit, you would receive, I think I'm going to share a form that you can upload your submissions to, or you just send an email and those will be reviewed. You definitely get feedback on what you've done right or what could be improved. All right. So I mean, I'll just advise that generally for the next class we're going to have, it helps if you review the materials, so you actually have like more questions to ask, because I'm not like covering every single thing that is in the resources, but if you've gone through them, you probably will be able to have questions. Okay, Mindidi is asking a question about this, a truth that what works early stops working later. Yeah. So like I said, we can get bored. Human beings get bored of something that, like, if you, I don't want to use. So for me now, there's nothing fascinating about Google Meet because I've been using it for a while, right? There's nothing fascinating to me about Google Docs because I've been using it for a while. My brain is already programmed to know what this is. It's used to it. There are some foods you eat and you get tired of them. There are some things you continuously do, like routine, that you just like, you're bored of them just because you do the same thing every time and it's not exciting. That applies to channels as well. When you when people start to use um, Instagram or social media generally, when social media started, the people that got on it early enough were the ones that saw the most benefits at the time. People that came in later would meet like new rules of the platform. There was a time when Facebook, for instance, used to allow people to add links to their posts, and those links will get a lot of traffic. Now, for a platform, for instance, like Instagram, you cannot add a link to your post. You have to put it in your bio, right? And that's because they are trying to keep people on the platform and not to go outside. So if you want to send people outside, you have to run an advertising campaign that you're going to pay them for it. This is similar to channels like LinkedIn, Twitter, like every social media currently are trying to keep people inside their own platform. So they deprioritize external links. If you put a link in your post, for instance, on LinkedIn, it will not get enough reach as a post that does not have a link in it. It's similar to how if anybody realizes that something is working, everybody will rush and use the same thing. Maybe like you find a viral hook, transition hook, right? That you use on social media, for instance, and then everybody has used. Okay, very recently there is this Oweto Papa music that is trending by Stromy. That was, somebody did an AI version, right? At the moment, I'm tired of that song, right? I don't want to hear it again. It's still a very nice music, but if you hear it every single day for the next 1 week, you want to lose your mind, right? That's just the way it is. Like, if something is working right now, the people that if people want to keep getting the benefit of it, they will not tell anybody. Once everybody knows about it, it becomes saturated. Everybody's doing it now. It's no longer effective. That's just the way it works. Like, whatever is working right now, if everybody knows about it, it will stop working. That's just the way it works.
Sorry, I was going to ask, what of people that stick to like maybe that's like their thing, yeah? I'm trying to think of an example. Or
Yeah.
let's use the same music you just gave. What if my whole brand is like, what's it called, built on this music you get? So are you saying I have to change because it has become like very saturated?
Not really. So the way that thing works is that you're going to get the reward of consistency. Like I said, consistency is built trust and is compounding, right? But so for most things like that, where you have to be consistent, you are going to be consistent, and your target audience, you're going to be reaching more of your target audience. But the existing people already know what to expect from you, so they come to you when they need your stuff, right? Every now and then, I think if you have favorite artists, like the example I'm using now, your favorite artists, you listen to them a lot of times. For most people, so there's some people that can stick with boring stuff, but like for most people, you kind of need to switch it up every now and then. Maybe some people put together bodies of work that's like an album, and what they are giving you there is it's a story, so it has a consistent beat and theme. Sometimes it has like, oh, something for a party, something for solitude and all of that, right? Just to make sure that it is not boring. That's just the concept. Like, just to make sure that it is not boring, even if it's the same thing, but with a little bit of refinement every now and then. You might be desensitized to the thing that you are listening to all the time because it's just predictable. So, but you sometimes you need something to be predictable and consistent. Other times you need it to be different so that your mental state can continuously appreciate that thing that you're looking at as a new thing, right? That's just the way it is. Like, we kind of follow shiny objects. We want to experience new stuff, but when it becomes repeated, predictable, and boring, we might move on to it, but still come back to it. I mean, you might have a favorite artist, um, and you like their music basically, but you probably will still want to listen to something else sometimes and still come back to, okay, this is my guy. And they don't necessarily repeat the same material every single time, right? It's just something like that. There's a part where consistency makes sense, and there's a part where you have to like switch it up a little bit, but still maintain the authenticity of your brand. Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, James.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. So this this question that was just asked, it particularly intrigued me, and basically they talk about diminishing returns, right, on
Yeah.
how engaged people would be the more they see something. I've always been someone who believes in I don't believe in following the trends per se. Like, I can follow it because it's not wise to ignore the fact that this is what your customers or your clients or your prospects like.
Yeah.
But um I also believe in the ability of a marketer to start those trends. Like, where did those trends start from, and how can we, like, what is the formula for noticing what is likely to continue working? I don't know if this question is clear.
Yes. How do you start a trend, and how do you find things that always work?
Exactly.
So two things. One is trends sometimes are organic, sometimes they are engineered, right? The way I'll use it like Temu for instance. Temu came into the market and they actually engineered the the promotion and the trend. They paid for every single advertising channel that they could find. They spent billions of dollars on their campaigns. So it was all up in everybody's faces, right? And everybody was shopping from Temu at the time. That's because they had the budget for it. There are some things that go viral that people think, oh, it's organic, and they're actually not organic, right? So they seed those things. That's why, like right now, there's like UGC making a lot of sense than paying for big influencers to run campaigns for you, because we know that if it's an influencer that does it, we know that it's paid. We know that it's a campaign. We know that this is an ad. But because the random person does it like part of their normal lifestyle, it kind of looks original. Like, okay, this person is not really trying to influence me, but you are influenced, right? So your
Yes.
brain needs to be tricked for those things to work. Because once you know that this person is trying to sell something to me, somehow you're not interested. But when you don't know that they're trying to sell to you, and the approach is different, then it makes sense. So a lot of times, things that are viral are following that principle where they see a lot of different people in different places that kind of have some kind of influence. They start up conversations around the things that they're trying to publicize, and before you know it, people have picked it up and it becomes a trend, right? um Second question is, how do you find things that always work, right? That's, you have to keep experimenting, because that's just the way, and that is growth marketing. You keep running experiments. Okay, today, if we release this blah blah blah, we change this button on our landing page, are people going to respond more to it? Then that thing will work for a while. Like, that is still coming back to that, whatever works now will not work later. This thing will work for a while until people get desensitized, your brain figures out that this is what is going on, it stops working, you have to change it again, people come back to it and say, okay, this is what we're going to be doing now. So most times when platforms release new features like Instagram Reels, Stories, carousel posts, videos in LinkedIn, videos on Twitter, they are running experiments, they are testing. they want to see, and especially when those things come out, they give more reach and visibility. The algorithm favors their new features. So when a new feature is released, it behooves you to go and test it and use it for a while. And then over time they deprioritize it, and then it becomes baseline for everybody again. It's no longer working. It's no longer as effective. Sometimes they might still find it effective if you have excellent content, but then it will just stop working over time, and then you need to change your approach, try another experiment again, and see if it works.
All right. Thank you so much. That clears up a lot. And I believe that with more of the teaching, I will get more clarity and more
Sure.
information to actually use. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. So yeah, like I said, something you guys should utilize is there's a bunch of resources you have access to. A lot of like resources and templates that I think I should have highlighted them before you started, but like there's a lot of resources and templates you have access to that will help you to get things done faster. If you want to do like, if you're trying to do positioning, for instance, I showed something like that. There's a template around it that you can do, use this for positioning, use this for messaging, use this for landing pages. Like it follows best practices and all those fundamental marketing principles that I have talked about. Amalala is saying I should go through the course breakdown. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to segue into the end of this. So for we have like 4 modules in this bootcamp. The first one is we're trying to cover marketing fundamentals and strategy. First thing, which is this week, is just understanding core marketing concepts. Next week, we're going to be talking about business and startup foundation. So exactly, if you work in tech, if you work in startups, you need to first understand the idea around startups, why a startup is a startup, and why they have certain cultures, right, in terms of how they do business that will help you to do marketing there, right? That's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at how to build a startup, some of the channels that work for startups, the markets, the framing, the consumer behavior, investors, funding, and things like that. The next, the week after that, we're going to be doing writing for marketers, and this is where we'll look at AI writing and how to use like things like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to write stuff that makes sense and doesn't look like AI. Then the fourth one is something we can even skip because it's not really a topic in itself. It's just showing you how to navigate Google Drive. Because I find a lot of people don't necessarily know how to work with cloud-based documentation, right? So we might jump from there to the foundations of product marketing, right? And we'll look at like the core, who is a product marketing manager? What are you responsible for? How do you create alignments between your team and all of that? Then we'll do go-to-market strategy after that. And these are where we're going to be using our templates and frameworks more for product marketing foundations, go-to-market launch and planning, strategy and things like that, right? That's going to be our module 2, which is going to be like the next month. Then we're going to do growth marketing in itself, right? We're going to look at growth marketing principles, experimentation, technical marketing tools and platforms that help you to do growth marketing. Like when I talk about you need to be experimenting to test new channels, how do you decide what is a successful experiment and what's a failure? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to look at growth marketing templates and tools again. A lot of templates that are applicable to growth marketing that is going to be useful for you. And this will help you with your submissions as well. And then in the final month, we're going to look at practical application with AI, right? So we're just going to look at AI, how we implement AI for marketing and every other thing that we do here. How do you work with ChatGPT for projects? How do you use like Claude to even do more things than you will do with ChatGPT? Yes, question. Yeah, go on, Nomalala. You're raising your hand.
Yeah, sorry. Good evening, James.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you. So I just quickly wanted to ask, are there specific ways we can ascertain how consumers or how humans think in the aspect of psychology, aside maybe, I don't know, research? Are there other ways?
Otherwise, like
That's what I'm asking.
yeah, that's the whole point of like on having best practice from different fields like economics, psychology, consumer behavior, advertising, right? There are some things that people have observed over time that have become like principles. Like these things, we agree that these are the things that always happen when it comes to human beings, right? And definitely you will see templates like this as well that will help you to to strategize, right? To think through what you're trying to accomplish. For instance, when we're looking at positioning, is this is a positioning framework. We'll get to this in product marketing strategy. Is like when you're trying to frame the thing that you're offering, you look at, okay, who are the customers that care about my products, right? And you need to do research for this. You probably like look at similar brands. You do, if you already have customers, you interview your customers, you observe their behavior and see like, okay, what kind of customers actually really care about what we're selling? What are the ways they use it? What is the thing that we've been hearing feedback that, oh, customers are requesting for this particular feature. They say they are trying to do this and they can't do it. Do we have a feature for that? They are making feature requests, right? What are the use cases they are solving? When you do case studies with customers, for instance, what are the things that they describe to you that they use your product for? How did they arrive at your product? You watch session replays on your website. Maybe you use like Microsoft Clarity, Hotjar, and tools that allow you to see how people are interacting with your site or with your product. That's how you develop like intuition of what are the things that actually influence consumer behavior. And you can even just ask yourself, go, if it's something that you are selling something that applies to you as well, you can also think of how you make decisions, right? What's the time that this thing is important to me? Sometimes there are some things that will be in your, okay, I think I want to maybe subscribe to this stuff. I want to watch this video, but you will never get to it until you see somebody else talking about it, right? Or you see another, like an ad of that thing that you already had in the back of your mind that you're going to watch or do. And then that is now the final push that makes you go and do that thing, right? So that's some of the like repetition is also a marketing principle that sometimes we need to see something 7 times. There's a law like repetition 7 times. You need to see something out on like maybe social media, a physical store. Somebody needs to talk about it. When it's trending, somebody like 7 different touch points before you now make a decision. That's some of those things that apply. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
right.
thank you so much.
All right. So yeah, that would just be like I think that's a point of us to close. We're already like Ibukun. Final question, please. Let's have the rest one for next week or
Yes.
follow up. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm the final. I'm definitely going to be the last person to ask any
There's
questions.
that is raising his answer. Okay, let's take it.
Yeah, please. The diagnostics. As you have templates for other areas like positioning, do you have like a template that you can just follow suit with and then do some research to help determine where the leakage is? Maybe it's the first one, maybe human reality or distribution and scale. So it just makes it easier for you to just run with the research, get some more evidence to maybe look at certain data points, maybe your Google Analytics or wherever you're going to get those data from, to sort of arrive at the conclusion that this is exactly where the breakage is happening or there's a leak.
Yeah, so a lot of those tools have there's like audit tools for different things, like audits for maybe like your landing page, audits for your strategy. And it's just like we'll still get to prompting, but it's like if you have the right prompts and the right data, you can answer any question you want to answer, right? For I don't know if there's something I can show that has something like that currently, but there is
So with your listing, there's like a mental model template, but I don't know. I don't have access to it, and we don't have access to it either. So I don't know. I've sent requests quite a number of times, but it's not accepted on your Notion.
there's a mental model template where
Yeah, on your Notion. So I don't know if that serves it, but
I don't think so.
okay.
There's I think I would what I'll do is I'll add a link to the there's a folder that has all of this marketing templates and resources. I think it's here somewhere, but I'm not finding it at the moment.
Yeah, it's there. But I think for the mental models, it's amongst the paid templates. It's not free. So yes, if you can just
This one,
yeah,
don't you guys have access to it?
no,
Okay, I'll check it and give everyone access. This
thank you.
basically just has links to different templates and resources. I think this is anybody can actually view, right? Or maybe what you're trying to get edit access, which is not correct, right? What you're supposed to do is to make a copy of it, or like bookmark this document and then make a copy of like the folders there. That's how you get access to every template that you'll find.
Yes, I definitely do understand that, and I've done that. But for this particular one, the templates amongst the paid version of the templates. So if you go through your marketing resource, or is it product marketing template, it's amongst this resource library. There's a paid version and there's a free version. You made the free version open, but the paid version is not open. So it's on Notion. I've accessed it quite a number of times, but I can't get access requested.
Is it this one's?
No, not this one. We have access to this one.
But these are actually the paid ones. So I think you're getting it confused.
Okay, maybe.
This folder is a paid folder, right? And you guys have access to everything here, right? Growth marketing handbooks, marketing templates, product marketing, they're all actually locked paid templates, and you guys have access to them. The ones that are free are different, right? And I don't
Okay.
think there's like a marketing mental model. So maybe it's in this growth handbooks, right?
Okay, maybe in the next session or the next time we have, I can definitely show
I'll
you.
just make sure like everybody has access to everything.
Okay.
But I don't think there's anything that you don't have access to.
No worries. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, Dio, your question before we round up.
Okay, good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Can
Yes.
you hear me, please?
Yes.
My question is simple. I want to ask: is there assignment every time we are done with a module? Like for instance, I'm done with module one. Like I've been reading through and I've been studying it for hours. You asked like that is allocated for us to spend every day. So I'm done with module one. Is there probably like rather an assignment or like a take home that we have to work on every module, because that is the only thing I'm a bit confused about.
Yes, this document I'm showing you here is showing you that there's like an end of topic assignment for every topic we cover for every week. There's an assignment. So check out this document for the assignments.
Okay, okay, I will do that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So if that will be all, if you guys still have questions, you can send it through send it in the chat or something, or text me, and we'll get to it towards next week.